give me a background on how you came to be doing what you're now doing.
Why is getting healthy and fit when you're really unhealthy and unfit, why is it so hard?
Yeah.
And then I realized what it was. Every other hard thing I had ever done in my life, I fully committed to.
Yeah.
I became obsessed about. And I gave 100% of myself to solving that thing. There was no fail. This is the burn all the boats. You're only going to win by going forward kind of thing. And so I decided to burn all the boats. And I called my daughter up and I said, hey, what do you think about us doing a Tough Mudder? I was way overweight. I was in terrible shape, no fitness level at all. And I said, well, okay, now I have to.
Yeah. Have you ever been told that it's hard to achieve optimal fitness after a certain age? Would it excite you if you found out you can actually achieve your best results later in life? Today I'm speaking to Allan Misner about the importance of mindset, nutrition, and exercise routines after the age of 40. Welcome to Move Your Mind, where we uncover why you are holding yourself back from getting the life you want and what to do about it. With the help from high-achieving guests and experts in behavioural science, personal development, and the health and wellness space. Join us if you're ready to move out of your own way toward your ideal self. I'm your host, Nick Brax, and I've been working in the health and wellness space for the last 15 years, helping people find direction and gain the courage to take control of their life. My mission is simple: to help you learn everything that I wish I knew so you can become your ideal self. Lacking guidance, I spent the majority of my youth feeling lost and disempowered, which led to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and substance abuse. Looking back, I didn't have the vocabulary to communicate what I was experiencing. And as a man, I didn't resonate with the emotional language used in traditional therapy. I didn't need to talk about my feelings. I needed tangible solutions to guide me toward building a life I was proud of. If you can relate, then this podcast is for you. In this episode, we explain how to achieve your best ever health and fitness results later in life. If you're ready to take action and build a stronger mindset, then keep listening. Allan, so great to meet you. Thank you for making the time to come on the podcast.
Thank you, Nick. I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate it, mate. And it sounds like it's, from what you're saying before, you've had a pretty busy week. So, yes. I'm sure you're looking forward to the weekend. Not long to go.
I haven't even taken time to shave. I don't know if this goes live in video, but you can kind of tell it's like, okay, this guy looks a little scruffy right now. I just haven't even taken a moment to shave.
I think it's a good look. I think you pull it off. So there you go.
Thank you.
So would you be able to give me a background on yourself, a bit of your story, and how you came to be doing what you're now doing?
Yeah, it's entirely different than what I ever thought I would be doing. I went to school to be an accountant. I passed the CPA exam. I went into public accounting and then into internal audit, which when you say the word audit, people kind of get a little wonky. But no, I don't audit people. I don't audit taxes. I was inside a company auditing inside the company. So I'm the guy when someone from corporate comes and they tell you, you better do all your paperwork right. And that was me. So the most hated guy in the whole business. Yeah, they actually voted on it every year, and I won it all year but one my entire career. And that's only but anyway, so I had this great job, and I was really good at it, and I made it to the C-suite by the time I was 39 years old. So I'm a vice president of a Fortune 500 company at 39 years old. And I was freaking miserable. I hated my life. I had the money and I had the things, but I was completely out of shape. I was unhealthy. I was unfit. I was in toxic relationships. Just nothing else in my life was working. And I decided I was going to try to fix it. And I started trying. So I was 39 years old. And I started trying to figure this all out. And the weird thing was everything that I knew from when I was in my 20s, when I was really fit, didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I would try an exercise program and just completely wreck myself. Or I would try to start eating the way I ate back then. And I couldn't sustain it. It didn't work. And so everything I tried failed. I just couldn't get it together. And so I went through 8 years of just this struggle of try and fail, try and fail, try and fail. And I was probably really close to giving up, if I'm being totally honest. And then two things happened. One was that my daughter was starting to get into CrossFit and doing obstacle course races and things like that. And she was excited about all those things. And my I had just gotten out of a very toxic relationship. I'd been in that whole 8 years. I'd been in this relationship with a woman that really wasn't right for me, and so I just ended that relationship. And here's my daughter. I'm trying to reconnect with because really hadn't had a good relationship with her for a while either. And she said to me one day, she said, "Daddy, would you come watch me do this CrossFit competition?" And I don't know about you, but that hit me in the gut because I was thinking to myself, I am not supposed to be a spectator in my daughter's life. I'm supposed to be a participant, you know? And I'm like, here I am. Yes, of course I went and watched her CrossFit competition, but I was not happy that that's who I was.
Yeah.
And so those two events gave me kind of this mindset to sit down and say, okay, I got to figure this out. I've done some really hard things in my life, some really, really hard things, you know? And I was like, why is this different? Why is getting healthy and fit when you're really unhealthy and unfit? Why is it so hard?
Yeah.
And then I realized what it was. Every other hard thing I had ever done in my life, I fully committed to.
Yeah.
I became obsessed about. And I gave 100% of myself to solving that thing. There was no fail. This is the burn all the boats. You're only going to win by going forward kind of thing. And so I decided to burn all the boats. And I called my daughter up and I said, hey, what do you think about us doing a Tough Mudder? Now, for those folks that don't know what a Tough Mudder is, it's a 12 to 13 mile race. It's done where you would drive ATVs and muddy trucks and things like that. So it's not a very easy run, even if it was just the run. But they throw in like 25 obstacles just to make it exciting. So this is a very intense thing. And to be honest with you, I had no business whatsoever even thinking I could do a Tough Mudder because I was way overweight. I was in terrible shape, no fitness at level at all. And I said, well, okay, now I have to, you know, and my daughter was a level 1 CrossFit coach, super fit. So I'm like, I don't want to slow her down. I don't want her to leave me on the course. So I've got to get serious about this. I've got to figure this out. So I went out and I started looking. There was nothing. No one was telling me how to get healthy and fit at 40. If there was a book, it was on stretching or chair yoga. And I'm like, chair yoga is not going to get me where I need to be in my life. It's just
won't do it.
And and I know I tried things and broke myself. So I was like, okay, there's got to be a smarter way to do this. So I couldn't find a coach online. They didn't exist. I couldn't find a podcast. I couldn't find a book. I couldn't find any resources for people over 40 to do this thing.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and got certified. I went to NASM. They got their course. Got certified there. Worked on corrective exercise. Went to a functional aging institute. Got certified as a functional aging specialist. And then I got to correct. I did the things that I knew I needed to do to change myself, to coach myself. I had no intentions of being a coach for anyone else. This was just okay. I had a very scary.
You went to a lot of length just to coach yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Because here's the thing, and I'll tell someone this to the end of my days. I have never regretted investing in myself.
Yeah.
Any training program I've had, any mentorship I've joined, anything where I'm spending money to make myself a better person, I have never, ever regretted a dime of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I did. I invested a lot of money and a lot of time. Like I said, I had to be fanatical about it because that's how I had been successful every other time. And so I did. I got really, really serious about this. I really pushed myself right to my line all the way through. And so 8 months later, I had dropped 66 pounds of fat. I had gained 11 pounds of muscle. And I did that Tough Mudder with my daughter. She didn't have to slow down a step. I was there with her the whole way. and we finished that race together.
Amazing.
Holding hands. Now, there are three things I'll tell you as a father that are like hugest things to me. That, the first one was when my daughter was born, and she wrapped her hand around my pinky. Yeah. I remember that like it's yesterday. Okay. I walked her down the aisle to get married about 1.5 years ago. And I'm pretty sure if I'd not made the decision I did when I was 45, 46 to get myself ready for a Tough Mudder, I wouldn't have been alive to do that.
Wow.
Because I was really in that poor of health. And then the final bit is, holding her hand, crossing the Tough Mudder finish line. Those kind of memories, those type of things are just, you can't take those away from me. Those are the most special moments in my life. And I'm so glad that I did this. And I did it for myself. I did it for my daughter. I did it for us. But me being the person I am, when someone's, a friend loses 66 pounds, you start asking questions. So my friends were asking questions, and I said, it's weird that still a year later, no one else is talking about this stuff. And there's so many people in my position where they're out of shape, they're unfit, they're over 40, and everything they're trying that worked when they were in their 20s isn't working now. And it's so frustrating. So I said, okay, I'll start this podcast, and I actually, one of my friends, my best friends that asked about it, I said, hey, I'll train you and your wife for free, but I want you to just come on the podcast and tell people about it. So if you go back to my podcast, 40 Plus Fitness, and you listen to the first several episodes, I was not a good podcaster. No one's a good podcaster when they first start. So it's terrible. I can't listen to it anymore. But if you listen, you'll actually hear coaching calls I had with John and Tammy way back then. And in 10 weeks, I helped John lose 39 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
And I helped his wife, Tammy, lose 28. Now, here's the kicker. Tammy had thrown out her back during that period of time and wasn't really able to exercise at all. So we did all of her weight loss just through nutritional counseling.
Wow.
And so at that point, I kind of knew, okay, I might actually be pretty good at this. And it felt a lot better helping people than helping the company.
Yeah.
And well, no one likes their personal trainer when they're training, but they like the results and they like them afterwards. So I was a lot more likable as a coach and as an internal auditor. And so, that's I just said, okay, I'll bring on some clients part-time. And then when I got laid off from the corporate job, I just told my wife, I said, I don't want to go back to that. I want to coach full-time, and I'm going to make it happen.
Wow, what a great story. Yeah, I mean, I love your messages in there, and the stuff you're saying about just backing yourself, going 100% all in. It's a good message, because I think, especially this day and age, a lot of us want the quick fix, or we're sort of our attention's getting pulled in different areas, and exactly like you're saying, if we're not looking at our fitness, our health in the same way that we would treat any other endeavor, you're not going to get it, because it requires that daily work and the discipline and everything else. So yeah, I think really great story. How long have you now been doing that for? How's the business going now? What's the day-to-day look like of what you're doing?
Yeah. So I launched 40 Plus Fitness back in 2015. I launched the podcast and started doing the training part-time. It was meant to be a part-time thing for probably about 5 years. The layoff happened a little earlier and pushed me through. So when I got laid off, I wrote a book called The Wellness Roadmap. Started taking on clients full-time. And I've just basically built the training business. Obviously, COVID had some hits to it, but I was one of the first to market with online training.
Wow.
And so when everybody else was shifting over to online, I was already in that space.
Yeah.
I'd already been in that space for 4 years. So, I knew a thing or two. So since then, I actually do coach coaches online too. I work with, you may know John Goodman. He's pretty big in the space as far as coaching coaches. I work with him as a consultant, and I coach some of his coaches. And then my wife and I, to lower our cost base after the layoff, we moved to Panama. And so we run a bed and breakfast here in Panama. So my day to day is pretty busy. If it's not a water pump going out at Lula's, or running out of water because we live on an island, if it's not raining, that happens.
Yeah.
Then I'm coaching my clients for health and fitness. I'm coaching other coaches, and what I really like about that part of my life is, I can only touch and coach so many people. But if I could coach 30, 40, 50, 60 coaches that can coach that many people,
Yeah.
I'm touching thousands of lives. And so if I can make a coach a better coach and they're helping more people, then together we're helping so many more people.
Yeah.
And I love that.
That's great. Yeah, exactly. And so you're saying there, when no one was doing training, coaching, like fitness coaching online before COVID.
Right. Well, there were,
but not many. It wasn't much of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No. So you take it back to 2015, and I was like, okay, I travel like 90%. Now, people hear these percentages thrown out. Say, oh, you travel on this job is 90%. It's 50%. Well, 90%, that meant I was home one weekend a month.
Mm. Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days. And it was usually like one weekend
That's
a
insane.
month that I was home.
Oh my God.
So you can't hire a trainer at a gym.
Yeah.
There's no way, you could ask for a program, but I'm at all these different hotel gyms and different places. So it really was just impossible. I wanted an online trainer. So I started looking for them.
Yeah.
There were some, but most of them, they were specialists. So if you were a power lifter trying to perfect your form, you could hire an online coach from another country, another city. They would look at videos of you doing the lift and give you some coaching cues. If you were a bodybuilder trying to prep for a show or work on your posing, there were coaches, high-level coaches that were doing those things. But there was no one sitting there saying, okay, here's a person with this particular set of constraints or issues, and I'm going to be his coach.
Yeah.
Or her coach.
Yeah.
And so I had the idea to be an online coach. And I saw that there were people doing online coaching for bodybuilding and powerlifting and things like that. But there wasn't anybody who was more of general into just helping people lose weight, helping people do other things. So when I launched it, it was kind of a unique concept. John Goodman started writing about it maybe about a year or two later.
Yeah.
And then he started his program where he was coaching coaches. And so that I went through his programs too. That's how I'm aware of what they're doing. And it was really good. But no one was doing this. And so I said, the only way I'm going to do this is be my own coach. And then I felt like that was, now that I have this skill set, I can coach people online. And I can do that and still have my full-time job. Mm. So I started it that way. And most of the coaches that'll come in, they either are working as in-person coaches and then they want an online part of their business, or they aren't doing any coaching. They've got another type of job and they're like, I want to coach on the side because I'm certified and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's a way to help someone. And online coaching is pretty cool because, if you go to the gym, it's great. The coach is there. He's going to load plates on for you. He's going to help you count reps. He's going to spot you, but that's that hour. And when you leave, that coach is on to the next hour with someone else. Whereas with an online coach, we tend to be more outcome based.
Yeah.
So you come to me and say, I need to lose 30 pounds, Allan. I'm like, okay, cool. So we're going to get on these phone calls. We're going to talk about your nutrition. We're going to talk about your lifting. I'm going to program for you. If you have questions about your form, videotape yourself and send it to me. I'm not going to load plates for you, and I'm not going to count reps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But that's all I'm not doing, and no chit chats from me while you're doing your workout. So just you do your workouts. If you have questions, then you can message me. We can do all kinds of habit tracking through the apps. That's one of the cool things that's happened in the last 5 years or so, is that they've launched all these apps that coaches can use to coach clients. When I first started, I had to build my own.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I did. I built my own on my website to launch my original coaching program. But there's a lot better tools out there. There's a lot more people out there. And whereas I was the first, I think young people, you call it the OG of 40 plus. And that's why I own 40plusfitness.com is I was the OG. There's a lot more people out there now that are focused on our demographic. on the online coaching. Again, COVID forced a lot of people to try to move their practice online. It's a special skill set to coach online, but there's more and more, and there's some great coaches that are doing this. So I'm really happy to see that the people have come in, they're in their niche. You can find a coach that's right for you.
That's great. So the coaching online's more sort of a holistic thing rather than if it's in person, you got a trainer, you're probably just going to get, like you're saying, that 1 hour doing whatever it is in the gym. But it sounds like you're saying an online coach would be, you're going to go through the fitness component, but you're sort of almost like you're a full health life sort of coach for them.
I am. Yes, I am. And I've actually, a lot of my clients will sit there and say, you're a life coach, dude, with this fitness and health component to it, because it's together. I mean, when you think about it, any change that you want to go through, it has to start in your head.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, it's motivation, it's those things. And online coaches can do that. Now, if you find a good coach, your good coach is going to sort of niche down at this point. So you can find a coach that's just for a particular thing. So I know coaches that will coach you through better golf games, some that will coach you through lower back pain, some that will coach you through being the best athlete you can possibly be. So there are some that will sit there and only focus on those things, and they're not going to talk to you about nutrition. They're not going to necessarily do a whole lot of talking about sleep. They're going to be talking about swimming, running, and riding the bike, okay, and the transitions in between. And so, as you go out there and you know what your needs are, you can find that specialist, and they're going to coach you at that level. Now, here's the cool thing: you may live in a little bitty town and say there's not really any good triathlete coaches in this town.
Yeah,
but you're not stuck, because again, I know one, and he's in a town pretty far away from you, maybe around the world, but you can get that expertise for about the same prices that you would for a local coach.
Yeah.
So, it's really beneficial. And, the technology of where we are, you and I are different countries talking on this and, sharing our ideas. And that's exactly what this is. And some of it's asynchronous, which is even better. So asynchronous, I mean, you don't have to be there when I'm there. If you wanted to train with me, and I looked at my calendar right now, I would probably tell you the best time to get on my calendar to work out with me in person is about 6:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. That's about the only window I have open right now. So is that what you want to do? And I'd say the vast majority of people would say, well, no, I might like 7, but 6 is pretty early. And so you don't have to work out when I want you to work out. You can work out when you want to. So if the best time for you to work out is 2:00 in the afternoon, then go do it.
Yeah.
Because again, that's when the gym's the quietest.
Yeah.
And so go do your workout. You know what your workout is. You've got examples in the app. And if you have questions, you've got me.
Yeah.
And if you need additional support, I've even coached people in, like, I wouldn't say in person, but live. So they literally took Zoom, opened up their phone, and we're sitting there having a conversation, and then they just set the tripod down and do their lift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm there as their coach, just like I was sitting through it. Now that's expensive. I won't lie to you. If I have to be on at a particular time, I'm going to charge you a little bit more. But if we're doing it asynchronous, your workout. We've answered all the questions. You go do the workout because I'm going to check. And then after the workout, we talk about the workout.
Yeah.
We talk about your recovery. We talk about your nutrition. And we'll get you everything you need to hit your health and fitness goals.
That's great. And, and from the coaching perspective, it's great as well, because you can literally live anywhere and and the pool of people that you can help is so much larger than if you were just in one city doing it in person.
Yeah, I coach people all around the world. So Australia all the way through to UK.
Wow.
I've got one, I think he lives in Croatia, all across the United States. And I was able to do that, and I took a month off and travel with my wife. We were on a cruise. I paid the extra for the internet service to make sure I had good internet. But I was coaching from the boat.
Which is, it's great. Yeah. I mean, what a great way to... It's a real lifestyle sort of career, because it means you can just, you can be... And it's not like it's something that you wouldn't look forward to doing. It's satisfying. So I think it's a great a great business to be in.
Yeah, I enjoy it. That's and the freedom of it, where I was able to tell my wife, it's like, let's move down to Panama. This was not something where I had to say, oh, well, I've got to give up all my local clients and I've got to try to reestablish myself in this new place. This was, okay, guys, I'm moving. I'm in this, we moved down here. I'm in the right now in the central time zone of the United States.
Yeah.
And so very easy for me to coach in the United States. And, where I am, if I want to, my clients in Australia, that just means I'm having a 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock call.
Exactly.
And if I'm dealing with the UK, I'm pushing it to the morning, midday to catch them in their evening at a reasonable time. And so it's easy. I mean, if you think it through, it does spread out the days some days, because again, yes, if I've got things I'm doing at 7 in the morning and then I'm still working at 7 at night. But when you love what you do, it's cool.
Doesn't matter.
It's fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram at NickBrax. I really appreciate your ongoing support. I love that. Well, a big part of this podcast is centered around mental health. How, from your experience, both personally and through the clients you're working with, how big of a role does fitness play in our mental well-being?
Well, for me, it was everything. Okay. And it was everything for me predominantly because I had this tendency at the time to look back at who I was. And so through what we call high school, but your teenage years into your 20s, I was a superior athlete. Okay. I also went into the military. I was an infantry soldier. And so effectively I say I was a professional athlete because it was my job to be able to carry, because I was on the ground, I was a grunt.
Yeah.
So you carry your stuff everywhere you go. You travel, 20, 30 miles a day sometimes with all your gear. And I did that professionally. And, that was my job for 2 years, learn how to kill people. And I feel like I got pretty good at it. So fitness was who I was. It was how I lived every day. Like my days in the Army, from 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, I was moving, going, huffing all the time.
Yeah.
And so to flash forward to my late 30s, and I'm not that person anymore. I'm far, far, far from it. And so for me, it really affected my mental health. It was probably part of the reason I was in that really toxic relationship, because I just didn't like myself.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know, you might need to bleep this part, but I called myself the fat bastard. And in fact, if you look up the domain name fatbastard.org, it takes you to my website. Okay. How's that for a good inside joke?
Yeah.
But and so when you think about referring to yourself as a bastard and not even liking yourself because of who you've become. And for me, fitness was a big chunk of that. Health was part of it. Relationships was part of it. But fitness was also a big part of it. When you have pride in how you look and how you feel and what you're capable of doing, then you have the capacity to build a better platform for mental health.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this story. So this guy, Glenn, okay, I'll tell you a story about this guy named Glenn. So Glenn's 80 years old, and Glenn realizes he can't play golf anymore. Now, Glenn loved golf. Loved golf. He lived on a golf course. He played practically every day, but he was 80 years old and he had to quit playing golf. So actually, Glenn's my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And so I was in the golf cart, and I would go visit the family that was in the town, and I got in the golf cart with him. And about the time we would have lunch, and then all the guys would play golf. And he didn't go off with them. He's still sitting in the golf cart with me. I'm like, okay, what's going on, Grandpa? He's like, well, I can't play anymore. I'm like, well, do you want to just go to the driving range? We'll hit a few. He's like, no, I can't. I can't even swing the club. At my fitness level, I can't. My balance, I can't. I'm like, okay. So Now, a lot of people say, well, he's 80 years old, so that's not a big loss. He's old. He lived another 15 years.
Wow.
Not playing the thing he loved the most. Now, flash forward 10 years, and my grandfather, Glenn, is 90 years old. Now, at this point, he can't get from his chair to the bathroom in time. And he doesn't have the capacity to clean himself up. So he has to call somebody. Now, because of that situation, not having the fitness level to actually just even go to the bathroom by himself, he did not want anyone around him. So he lived in solitary pretty much. My uncle Charlie, his son, was the only person that he wanted around. He would let around. And so I didn't see him the last 5 years. He lived till he was 95.
Yeah.
And I didn't see him the last 5 years of his life.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't tell me that he had good mental health for the last, maybe even the whole last 15 years of his life.
That's horrible. Yeah.
Because of what he had lost. And so, when I tell people, and I'll say this and people giggle a little bit, but I want to be able to wipe my own ass when I'm 105.
Yeah.
Okay. And so having the capacity to live the life you want and have the joy that went, like I told you about finishing the Tough Mudder with my daughter, being able to take care of myself and be independent and do those things. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. I love that.
Okay. So I don't go think of it as a workout. I don't think of it as exercise. I'm training. I'm training to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 105. Okay. I'm training to be able to do the things I need to do at this bed and breakfast. I'm training to be independent. I'm training to be able to take care of my family. And so I don't look at exercise as this burden. I look at it as a privilege to be able to live the life I want to live. And so if you ask me if fitness is related to mental health, I'd say, well, not necessarily directly, but if you don't have fitness, you're probably not going to have good mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that story. It's so true. And I think having that reason, like you're saying, wanting to be able to wipe your own ass when you're 105, you need that deeper reason. If it's just, I want to get fit because I want to have a good body for this summer or whatever the hell it is, it's not really deep enough that you're going to stick to it. You almost need to make it that it becomes the same thing as, you have to eat every day, you have to sleep, you have to exercise, you do these different things, get it to that point. That's when you can really stick to it.
Yeah. Well, and there's no reason. We don't need to poo-poo the aspirations for appearance.
Yeah.
That's important too. Some of the greatest art and things that have happened in this world. I mean, they started a war over Helen. So, being attractive and wanting women wanting people of the opposite sex to find you attractive, there's no reason to poo-poo that. That's cool too.
Yeah.
And if that drives you, which it does when you're in your 20s and 30s, it definitely should drive you if you don't have a mate. But there's a point where you're married and you're like, okay, I got one. I'm good. And then you let that go. Don't let that go. But it might not be, I need the 6-pack abs and I need this or want that, because, that's not sustainable for the long term. Then yes, you turn it on to the other things. How am I going to be as a grandfather?
Yeah.
Am I going to be sitting in a rocking chair watching them on the floor?
Yeah.
Or am I going to be crawling around on the floor with them? I'm going to be chasing them around in the zoo instead of just sitting on a bench watching them. And so, I think that's the key of how you want to live your life. And then, putting in the effort to be that person.
Absolutely. So what are some of the things you personally do for your own health and fitness on a daily or weekly basis?
Well, I live on an island. So I said Panama, but it's on an island called Bocas del Toro. And we don't get hurricanes. So it's a cool Caribbean island, doesn't get hurricanes. The weather's always warm and nice. Never gets below 21 Celsius, never gets above 31 Celsius. So kind of give you an idea. We have beautiful beaches. So I put miles on. I do a lot of long, slow out there on the beaches and just enjoying time out there. So it's really good for mental health because it's really hard to be depressed walking on a beach.
Very hard, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it. You can do it, but when you just are walking and it's just beautiful and everything, it's a lot easier to let things go and realize, hey, I got it pretty good.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of long distance stuff. I lift heavy. When I first moved down here, I bought a gym, the gym. There was only one gym only one real gym on the island. They had a fight club gym thing, fight gym, but I bought the gym to keep it open. COVID, we shut down. When I reopened, and then the rent started going crazy, and I ended up having to close that. But I took a good bit of the heavy duty lifting equipment that I knew I would need, and I moved them into my studio. We have an apartment here at our bed and breakfast, and I literally just moved that equipment into our living room.
Yeah, right.
And so I have a full weightlifting gym in my living room. So I lift and I basically do a lot of just long distance stuff. Not running, but just slow and long stuff. And it's times that I can use that to clear my head. It's times like that I can use it to improve myself. So I'm always listening to audiobooks and podcasts and just using that time. So it's not just I'm going for a long walk, but sometimes it is just take the earbuds out and just see the world that I get to live in.
Yeah.
And just say, okay, there's I'm not sad today.
Yeah. I love it. I love that. Well, it's great. Well, thank you for sharing all of this. We finish with 5 closing questions. So these can be whatever comes to mind. The first one is, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind?
This is going to sound weird, but I remember watching my grandfather work in the field, and he was this. I mean, for me, he was biggest man in the world. My on my mother's side, so not Glenn, but John, but he just had this old man strength.
Yeah.
I don't know that old men have that anymore. But he worked in the field with his own garden. He has a big garden, and he worked out there with it. And he just had old man strength. He was just wiry strong. And I just remember watching him work out in that field, and how powerful he was.
Yeah.
He's only 5'3". I was at the time I was even taller than him, but he was just so powerful for that little man. And I was like that. So just again, watching someone who takes care of themselves to a point. He smoked, and so that ended up being his thing. But from a physical perspective,
yeah,
I've never seen anybody match what my grandfather was doing.
I love that. I love that. What do you think's currently the biggest burden on mental health in society?
Social media.
Literally 95%, probably more. I would say almost every guest says that same answer.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because you kind of almost need to be there to know what's going on in the world anymore, because we can't necessarily count on the old ways that we used to learn what was going on, because those old ways, they used to tell us what happened.
Yeah.
They used to say, this is what happened and this is the facts. But when they went to the 24-hour news and they had to come up with they can't just say the same thing over and over and over for 24 hours. So they have to now opine on what that means instead of letting you decide what that means. Because, something happened in Aleppo. I don't care. I wish my government wasn't involved in it, but I don't care to know where Aleppo is. And this is kind of an inside joke politically here in the United States, but it's just those things where now all these opinions are out there. So you kind of almost have to go out where all the opinions congregate.
Yeah.
And then at that point they wash themselves out and you're like, okay, what actually happened? And what do I think about it?
Yeah.
And so you almost have to be out there just to know.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't get steered by one side or the other. And it's everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter what country you're in. It doesn't. Somehow or another, it's happening everywhere. It's so polarizing and terrible. But if you get past that and say, look, we're all the same. We all pull our pants up the same way. We all wipe our butts the same way. We're all the same. None of us is above the other, even if they want to think so. And then you say, okay, this is what they're saying. I'm either going to care or I'm going to unfollow. It's like I have that choice. I say detox occasionally when you can. That's why, again, my longer times out, it's just good times. I'm not on social media while I'm out there. I seldom get on beyond what I have to do because I'm an online business, and that's part of my marketing needs. But I do a little bit in the morning just to know the news. Okay, do I get another day, or have they started World War III?
Yeah.
But beyond that, if they haven't started World War III, I'm like, okay, I learned what I needed to know.
I can get through the day.
And I can get through the day.
I like it. What's your personal definition of happiness?
Okay, this is important because I define wellness as being the fittest, healthiest, and happiest you can be.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we think of happiness and think that that's something that needs to be permanent. And I don't. I think there are moments of happiness. So that's what I started with my question. And now I'm kind of leaning into a different definition. It's called joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you can be sad and still have joy.
Yeah.
But but happiness and sadness are just states that we ebb and flow out of any given time. So if you're doing things that bring joy to your life, you are going to spend more moments in happiness than you do sadness.
Yeah.
But you're never going to avoid one to stay in the other. You need to ebb and flow. That's normal. So just be seeking joy and you'll spend more time happy than you do sad.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. If you could give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self when you're about to enter into the world, what would that be?
Yeah, I've thought about this one a lot in the past, and this is don't make decisions out of fear.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay. Every time I've made a decision out of fear, it turned out to be the wrong decision.
Yeah. It's never something that is gonna. It's not the right thing to listen to.
Run straight at fear. If something scares you, you're on the right course.
Seriously,
you're doing something right. If we try to live our entire life without fear, we're not going to find joy.
No, you won't. You won't be living.
Find relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. It's scary to ask a girl out, because she might say no. And so if you live out of fear, you're never going to ask the right girl out.
Yeah, exactly. You won't take a chance.
If you live out of fear, you might even marry or stay with the wrong girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Guilty.
Well, final one. What are you most proud of?
I'm proud of my daughter. I'm proud of the relationship I now have. After right around the time I was doing this change in my life, I did meet the right woman, and I married her. That's our trip we just took was our 10-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations!
So she has 3 children, and I have 1. And I'm really proud of the relationship I have with those kids. I mean, they're not kids; they're grown adults. But I'm really proud of the relationship I had, because if I look back at how I was at 39, that would not have been possible if I had not made changes in my life.
Yeah. No, well, I love that one. So thank you for sharing all of that. Where can our listeners go, especially if they're over 40, but any of them, if they want to learn more about what you're doing?
Sure. You can come to 40plusfitness.com. That's 40plusfitness.com. That's my primary training website. There's links there. I'll take you to my podcast website and take you to my book. I'm on Facebook, Allan Misner. If you want to look out there, I'm gonna start an Instagram because I wasn't on Instagram and I didn't need to be on Instagram when I started, but the weird thing is that millennials are starting to turn 40, and they are on Instagram. So I am going to start an Instagram channel. And then the podcast. If you like podcasts, you can just go on any podcast listener, look up 40 Plus Fitness, and I'm going to pop up.
Great. Well, thank you again, Allan. Really appreciate the time and love what you're doing. And I'll keep following what you're up to.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Allan Misner, for joining me today and offering your insights. And thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode and any suggestions for topics you'd like to hear about. Feel free to leave a comment or send a DM. Your feedback is always appreciated. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram. It really makes a difference. Thank you so much.